Artist, photographer, image creator, art director, producer, and explorer. Justin Dingwall first picked up the camera at the age of 18. After graduating, Justin paid his dues and started off as a photographic assistant and later worked his way to become a commercial and fine art photographer. Justin's work has been winning so many awards. I mean, I can say he's a multiple award-winning photographer, and his work has also been exhibited around the world. It can be found in multiple museums and private collections. Justin, welcome to the show.
I'm very well yourself. Thank you for having me.
I'm good. You know, when people say private collections, I can just imagine my house filled with Justin Dingwall up on my walls. But I have to find out how you started off in the industry. I mean, you've always stood out from the crowd. You were an artistic mind in a very technical and engineering school. There was even times that you were bullied because of it. You were just so different and you always stood out. So how did you deal with this and how were you able to navigate who you truly were?
I was bullied because I was different, which I'm sure many creatives might understand. But I wouldn't change my journey or experiences. It has really sculpted my life in a very profound way. What I took away from these experiences was very, very important. Not only did I learn to stand up for myself, but I learned to be persistent, which has been invaluable to my career as a photographer and as an artist. But an even more important lesson was the way in which we treat each other.
Now, Justin, you're exactly that. It's that persistence, a true epitome of a hustler. Talk to me about the time that you spanned an entire company with emails just so that you can try and get a job with them.
Well, after I left varsity, it was up to me to make my way in the world, and I didn't know anyone in the media industry. So one day, I remember it as clear as yesterday, I went down to the local shop and I started going through all of the magazines, trying to find something that they all had in common. And the one thing that they all had in common is that they were all published by the same company. So I jotted down every single art director, fashion editor, any name that I could get. And over the next 2 months, I started sending out about 50 emails every single week. And this continued for a while until eventually I got a call from the photographic department to say, listen, if we give you a chance and you do a good job, then we're going to give you this opportunity. But if you fail, then please stop mailing us. So I grabbed that opportunity with both hands. And Drum Magazine sent me out to go do an article called A Day in the Life of.
Yeah.
And over the next 2 years, I got to travel the country, meet politicians, fighter pilots, high court judges. And it was just one of the most profound experiences that I've had of determination and given an opportunity and trying to use it to the best of my ability.
So these are one of your most, the moments that stand out to you. These are some things that you wear with an honor and wear with the badge of pride. If you were to just collectively put all these moments together, what would you say your proudest would be?
There's a few that have stood out over the last few years in that. And I've really, just to pick a few, have to be being selected in 2018 as one of South Africa's most influential men. The next would be when Adobe, who are the creators of Photoshop and InDesign, contacted me to be one of the 48 artists around the world to create a mosaic that was going to be exhibited in the Lincoln Center in New York.
Wow.
And then I have to say probably one of my proudest moments is when Tyra Banks, the international fashion model, found my Instagram profile, flew me to LA to go photograph the cover for Remix magazine, and it was quite a monumental cover because it was their 100th issue. Wow. So that probably is one of the highlights.
Now, something else that's also truly touched you, and another woman in your life who's been so monumental is, of course, Umama, your mother. She gave you some sound advice when you were growing up, which changed the way you work and navigate through life. So what was that advice that she gave you, and what advice then would you give to those other aspiring artists out there?
My mom has always been one of my biggest supporters and someone that I've always really looked up to. So I've lived by these two quotes, which she had said to me throughout my life. And the first one was, the harder you work, the luckier you get, which is a quote by Gary Player. Yeah. And the second one is, you reap what you sow. So for me, it's been very, very important for me to use these in my life and kind of the way that I navigate and I go through life. My advice to other artists or creatives or people just trying to follow their passion in life would be that you have to wear many, many hats. You have to be a business person. You have to be a social media entrepreneur. You have to be persistent. I think the most important thing is also surrounding yourself with good people. Personally, for myself, throughout the years, through social media, I found very talented and creative people where we think the same, we like to support each other. And what we've done is I try and find people like that and bring everyone together to create work that speaks to society.
So then, Justin, what was important to you before Corona are now the same. Your work is based on trying to understand the world around you. So then how has this pandemic impacted the way you understand the world today?
It's my way of working through my perceptions of society. And my work is a constant process of learning. What really has changed is the urgency of my work. It's really made me acutely aware of how things can change in a moment and how you can be taken completely unaware and unprepared by a situation. For me, it's come down to don't waste time, strive forward and embrace the change that is in front of you.
Well, that's exactly what you did. I mean, moving from a very technical space and engineering space into full-on artistry. I love touching base with artists like you that teach us flexibility, vulnerability, but also the power of persistence. As your mother loves to say, the harder you work, the luckier you get. Thank you so much for joining us, Justin. Goodbye.
Thank you so much for having me.
South Africa, please do head over to social media. Use that hashtag Afternoon Express in all of your comments.